Hello, it's your boy Benjamin, and today is October 21st, 2020, and I am 1 month on testosterone. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome, I must say. I never thought that this time would come so quickly, especially when I first started testosterone. It seemed like such a slow process going from week to week, and it still kind of does, but I'm already at a month, and that's really hard to believe for me. I haven't noticed any differences yet. Maybe slightly in the voice. I've heard one person say that my voice has changed slightly. Personally, I don't see it. Other than that, really not anything. I was informed that my voice might get a bit scratchier, or it feels like I have a sore throat sometimes, and that means that my voice is kind of changing a little bit and getting used to being a bit lower, and I feel like I have been experiencing more of a sore throat lately. Not anything super severe. I don't have COVID, don't worry. Uh, but especially in the mornings, although that might just be me being dehydrated. So I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining it. Who knows? That's really all for the testosterone update. I started doing my injections myself on my third injection. So I've done it myself 3 times now. It's not as hard as I thought it would be. It's pretty easy. It's mostly just a lot of nitty gritty stuff that I'm trying to get down, like keeping everything clean and being able to sanitize the testosterone beforehand, not the actual testosterone, just the bottle. And it's a really easy process. I'm in a TBS right now. And so I am what some people call treatment. I am here basically because I'm trans and some other issues. It's more than that, but issues related to being trans, being sad because I'm trans, being anxious about my body and being dysphoric and all that type of stuff. It just causes a lot of stress that is not normally there in the daily life. And so that's one of the reasons I'm here. As I said, there's some more stuff, but that's my stuff. Uh and so I'm in a TBS, which stands for Therapeutic Boarding School. It's almost an alternative, which is a boarding school that isn't quite traditional boarding school, but it has just therapy kind of on the side. There are some limitations because it is not an alternative. It's almost an alternative, but it is a TBS, and so it has a little less freedom than normal. Before I was here, I was in a wilderness program in Utah, as most treatment centers are. Uh, Wilderness is basically where your kid gets shipped off into the woods for 8 to 12 weeks, but it's really 10 to 14 weeks. I was there for 74 days, which was 10 and a half weeks. And a lot of people hate it. It wasn't so bad for me. It was really rough. Basically what they do for treatment is they strip away everything material in your life and it just leaves you, like raw you, and then you kind of build yourself up from that. And so it's really rough. And my stay there, I would say personally, was a little bit more tumultuous than most. I was in 4 groups while I was there. Most people go into a group, which is usually around 10 people, and they stay with that group in the woods for their whole time. But I was in 4 groups. I was in a quarantine group at first, which is what most therapeutic wilderness programs are doing right now because of COVID. But that doesn't really count. And after that, I went into the first boys group because I wanted to try being in a boys group. I was in quarantine boys group, and that went really well. So I went into the first boys group, and it was really rough. I can do another video about fun wilderness stories. It wasn't a fun week, but I can look back on it and laugh now. And so they decided that that group wasn't right for me. It was really just kind of the drugs and defiance group. And I had neither of those issues. I don't even know why I was put in there. But they moved me. And then I was in the second boys group. And there it was less bad and then more bad at the same time. That is the only time in my life, thankfully, also unthankfully, that I had to happen in that setting. But thankfully that I hadn't experienced it before. That was the only time in my life that I've experienced bullying because I'm trans. There just were some people in there that didn't understand. They didn't know how to express that they didn't understand. And so that came out in a really wrong way, and it really sucked for me. So I asked to be transferred, and then I went into the group, and I stayed in this group for 7 weeks, and I went into a girls group. At first, I was very opposed to this idea because I'm not a girl. Why am I in a girls group? This shouldn't be a thing. But it was actually really nice because the wilderness therapy I went to was very accepting of trans identities. And so while I was there, I met 3 other trans people, which was awesome. Honestly, we called ourselves the trans autistic group because there were 4 people who were autistic while I was there and 4 people who were trans while I was there. Not all at the same time because people are coming and going constantly during this process, and the 4 trans people is including myself. It didn't quite feel like a girls group, which was really great, and I wasn't misgendered while I was there. It was really accepting, and I was able to do a lot of work there for myself that I really enjoyed. Even though I was really opposed to the idea at first, it was great, honestly. But that didn't last forever, and our group got pretty small, which was great. It's great to have a small group, less people to be accountable for, less people to, hold you back, if I'm being honest, less people to hold you back. But we ended up merging with the second girls group, which was a different group, because they had a bunch of people graduate all at once, and so we merged, and we got 2 people, and they were really, really cool, and I was in that group for 1 week before I graduated. And so it was really weird to be transferred that many times. And also I left early. Usually wildernesses, they have a specific day where kids would graduate. And I left on Monday, which was not that day. And so usually kids would go to the field office and they would get a shower and they'd get their belongings and all of that. I didn't get to have a shower. So I got to have a bladder shower, which was where there's this big thing that I had, and I held about 4 liters of water, and that's your main water holder that you keep with you. And so I put some water in it, and I sat on my sleeping mat, and I rubbed myself down with water. And so I went on the plane like that, too, because I had to fly to here, which is in New England. My TBS is in New England. And so I went on the plane, not having had a shower, and still in my dirty wilderness clothes. I did change my shirt in the bathroom, but I had my dirty wilderness clothes on, which wasn't a lot of fun, but what can you do? So I have been at this TBS now for almost 2 months. I arrived here on August 25th, and it's interesting. It's interesting. I don't really know. It's interesting. A little part of me has always wanted to come to a boarding school, so this is kind of a cool experience, but there's always a part of me, and I think this goes for every treatment kid, that just wants to be home. There are pros and cons to being home because of issues that I had at home and stuff like that, but I'm really missing home. And just, I've never had such an appreciation for home before, the city that I live in. And it's just, it's really beautiful up here in New England, because I don't live in New England. I live somewhere else in the United States. And it's a different experience, but another part of me is just wanting to be home and wanting to be with my family and with my old friends and all of that. And it's a bittersweet experience for every treatment family. I know my family misses me and wants to have me at home, but they know that this is what I need, and I know that this is what I need. So there's a different journey for everyone, is what I'm trying to say. And I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, being at a TBS, being at Wilderness is also a very strange experience because of COVID. There are so many regulations, and I bet this is going to be weird looking back in a couple of years when all of this is over, but we, all the guides, they had to wear masks all the time when we were in Wilderness, or they were supposed to. They didn't, but they were supposed to. We have to wear masks while we're in class when we're in a closed space with the staff here. We had to do quarantine for 2 weeks when I first got here. When we're in cars, we have to wear masks. We aren't allowed to do any off-campus trips that aren't, that are inside. All of them have to be outside, which is kind of cool. We went apple picking. We, did We went on hikes and stuff like that off campus, but it's very, very strange to have to think about all this stuff every time you plan an activity or something. And honestly, I'm tired of it. I mean, it's October. This has been going on since March. Well, in the US, it's been going on since March. And it's just strange. It's not really an experience that I'd be able to recount fully to another person, because it's different for everyone, you know? There are some people who have lost close friends and family to this. There are some people who haven't, like myself, and there are some people who are just minorly inconvenienced by this. And some people have to go into work every day and take all these precautions to not get sick, like all these doctors and stuff. So that's, yeah, it's strange. That's my thoughts. That's what's happened so far. That's an update on my life and what you know about me. That's an update on my life right now. I'm 1 month on T. Really happy about it. I'm in treatment, which sucks, but it's gonna get better, and I need this. I'm very grateful for my position right now, because I get to start testosterone in a TBS, in a boarding school. You know, I wish it could be with my family, but they're allowing me to start it nonetheless. I'm getting top surgery in December 18th. I'm getting top surgery, and it's every single day it's getting closer, and yet it feels so far away. And I'll talk more about that when the time comes, but it's awesome, honestly. And I'm in a TBS that's not super strict. I am allowed to record videos here, which is incredible and normally wouldn't happen. I had to get my therapist's approval for this, and she thought that it would be a good idea to be able to document my transition. And all of these videos are being recorded way in advance. I don't know when I'm going to be able to post these videos. It might be this December. So I don't know when I'm going to be able to post these, because there's just a lot of logistical stuff that comes with this. But I recorded my first video the day before I got testosterone. It was very boring. I can include some important parts of it here if I want to. I am pre-testosterone. I'm supposed to get it sometime this week. I had to get blood drawn a couple of days ago. Then the labs came back fine. My mother had to approve it. I'm 14. I had already been diagnosed with gender dysphoria. My testosterone journey is a bit peculiar because of my age, one. I've actually haven't heard of anybody who has gone on testosterone at this age except for a friend from school. And it is also peculiar because I am at a therapeutic boarding school. It's a couple of hours away from where I live by plane. And so I'm not with my parents or my family or anything like that through this, even though they need to be involved in this process. I'm hoping that they can record my first shot so that I can keep it for myself and so that they can see it as well. I do want them to be part of this process. It's also strange just because of COVID. It's September 13th right now, 2020, as I record this, and just looking back on when my real school shut down, it was March 13th, 2020. They said that it would just be for 2 weeks. Well, it's been a bit more than 2 weeks. Just a bit. You see, now I'm wearing a mask. We have to keep these around our necks at all times. When I got here, which was August 25th, I had to quarantine for 2 weeks with a couple of other people. We had to keep our masks on all the time. It was kind of a shock to come back from wilderness, because there, it was pretty isolated. I mean, you're out in the middle of nowhere. The only time that we had to wear our masks was in a little quarantine thing we did at the beginning as well, and in the vans. That was basically it. So coming here and just being kind of whoosh, culture shock, came out when, like, right after I turned 12. I first came out as non-binary, and I stayed that way for a year. Obviously, this is not the case for everybody. Some people are truly non-binary, and I'm not invalidating their experience or their identity or anything like that. But I personally was just scared of making the full transition from female to male, I realized. And so once I just made that leap, it was easy for me to be able to say, oh yeah, I'm a guy. So I, a year later, came out as fully male and was like, yeah, I want to do testosterone and stuff. And it took a while for that to, get moving, get rolling. And it really kind of cemented itself while I was in wilderness, because then my therapist at wilderness was like, yeah, this is a thing that needs to do. and it is necessary for his well-being and his mental health. I found that with these kind of things, waiting for testosterone, waiting for top surgery, which is hopefully going to happen in December. I have a consultation with a doctor tomorrow, with a surgeon. These kind of things, you just need to take it a step at a time. Take it a day at a time. And I found that if you stay present, if you ground yourself in the moment, feel the chair beneath you, hear the sounds around you, and just see what you see right now and not in the future, or not, 6 months, a year in the future, or an undefined amount of time in the future. For many transgender people, a lot of us don't know when we're going to get surgeries, when we're going to be able to get hormones, especially young transgender people. A lot of us don't know when these things are going to happen. And so I've found that just taking it a day at a time makes the moment a lot more enjoyable, makes your life a lot more enjoyable. It helps you just stay present for those around you and for yourself, honestly. At some point, things will change, and I can't say that it'll get better, and I can't say that it'll get worse. But nothing lasts forever, and things will change. That's all I have to say. Goodbye. So, maybe I included something there, maybe I didn't. I don't know. I recorded a 1-week testosterone video, and now I'm doing a 1-month testosterone video. I don't really have a very good setup, obviously. I'm in a therapist's office right now. I recorded in various therapists' office just because it's quiet and because they have tables that are very nice to be able to record on. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm very grateful for my position right now because I have a certain amount of freedom that normally kids in their treatment don't have, unfortunately. But that's just what some people need, I'm gonna try to record some fun videos soon. I have a lot of ideas for just some comedic whatever. I'm gonna have to figure out the correct setup for it though, because I do not have a setup. So hopefully that will be coming soon. And until next time, goodbye.